Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's August 24th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and really quiet day today. Honestly, after the last couple of days, the rally we had, no surprise that the market took a little break today. I mean, we moved really far, really fast, so this is kind of a consolidation day, just a range day. And really, I mean, you can see the overnight highs and lows. We never traded outside of that. And for most of the day, we traded right along the middle or center line. Really, we kind of got into this green. There was a couple of different ways to look at this. This is definitely a spike and channel up, but you can see we had the close outside and we didn't even make a new high. So really, the range here, if you played the green range, you look for a measured move. We turned down that off to the tick and then traded back down. And on the low side, we couldn't even get back down to a measured move. We came close, but we just failed out. We just fell out both sides of that pretty a few times, and then we got right back inside it and closed back inside this green channel. So really tight day. Not a lot of trades. I'll be honest with you. I kept my chart open for a couple of hours and just shut everything down. It just a day like this is it's just frustrating, and you'll force bad trades, and you'll start to see, like, I really wanted to see this trend here yellow, but you were better off to play it as sideways. And I really kept thinking, well, maybe this will turn into a better trend, but it doesn't. And sometimes these days are just you're just better off to close up and go. Uh, Obviously, as soon as you do that, the market takes off on a tear. So sometimes it's hard to tear yourself away because you're afraid the market will go on a tear itself, and it's a catch 22. So, but rather than force a trade, if you're really struggling on a day like this, or and there's just not much happening, sometimes it's best just to take the day off. And we still have this gap where we opened here. So there's a gap on this chart from here. Let's see, from here to the highs were right in here. So prices could try to come back and fill that gap. We'll just have to see. Although we may run up and make that measured move up first. So it's just hard to know what prices are going to do. Um, Obviously, this was a consolidation day where people were just digesting all the move, and the market's taking a little gas for air, and they could back up a little bit and take another tear higher, or it could trade back into that range on the daily chart. I'm not going to pull the daily chart up today. We'll maybe look at it again tomorrow. But anyway, let's go through these few trades. There's not many of them. You got to be tough to stick out a day like this for very long. And if you had trouble finding trades, it's because there's not many. You could probably argue for a few others on here that might be green or something, but for the most part, I marked the 3 or 4 that were worth taking here. So, and actually, several of them are more advanced trades. So, they're reversal type failures or whatever, and so they're kind of sticky trades for the average person. So if you take a fairly new chart reader, there's only a couple of trades here all day. So I marked one green one, I think, and there were a couple of others, but I didn't even mark them. It just wasn't worth, they're you probably could make an argument for them depending on how you were seeing it, but I didn't feel like they were even worth marking. So, but anyway, 7 o'clock came just as we were turning down here, and we bounced down here, and then we came back and made another low, and um, this broke lower first and turned and went out the other side. It did back up in the end, but I like that on engulfing bar. If you waited for this bar to close, you might have let it break above this bar and then see if it would back up a little bit. I don't know if it would have or not. I really think the only way to trade this is on engulfing bar, and most of you should stay away from engulfing bar anyway. Actually, I missed this trade. We'll come back to it, but I like this just to ride it back to the EMA, and maybe you get lucky and catch a big move. And you could have easily got a runner out of this. I probably would have exited in all this, but it did keep going higher, and you could have had an easy runner here. So it's a little aggressive though. It's not a real straightforward trade. You might look at this as a double top and a first, second entry, so you could have looked at it as a second entry too. We've already had the break and new low. So the prices were just kind of testing that overnight low again in the regular session, and when it holds, there's a good chance prices will go higher. So I forgot to talk about this trade though, but we ran up here. I don't have a short-term channel where this is probably more like this, and then we clearly got a close outside and a new high and then a lower high, but that bar's too bullish. Then we push back through and get a failed second entry long. So if we break lower there, it's probably going to be a trap, and all these people that got long will probably have to exit. And it runs right back down to where it started, and they make one more little push right there, that little one tick lower. Let me zoom in here a little more, and then reverses. That catches a lot of shorts off guard. Now they all got to exit, and it runs right back up again. And then we just kind of start going sideways here. There's a little upward momentum here. I really didn't like this to the upside as a possible channel until here. I was kind of looking at this as sideways, but once it bounced here, I'm thinking, okay, we got a channel, and then it ran up to the high side. But still, I think in the end, the better way to look at this was the range. And early on, I was looking at it as a spiking channel too. So if you didn't see this range until later, that's pretty obvious. But once we broke higher and we're just going sideways up here and just keep going sideways, especially when we turn down to the tick there. But notice we made that eye. I just think it's too dangerous to go short right there because it's right back to the previous resistance that now might act as support, and there's not enough room. But it tries to go higher once, twice, and it fails right there, and now you got a little room. And so I like taking that back to the short side because you're going to have some trap. And you can see how it runs down real strong and fast. That's a trap, no doubt about it. All these longs are getting out right here. And then we bounce down here at the lows again. We push through there momentarily, but you make that new low, you're running down, you get a close outside. It tries to go lower and makes a higher low right here. I like going long right there on the higher low. And that's a second entry long too. And then we come back and test it again. Now you got a triple test, and you try to go lower 3 times, another nice bullish bar. I like going long there. And this is a good example of why we go for 4 ticks, because this got exactly, that's all you could have got out of this. You need 1 tick to place your buy order, 1 tick above the signal bar, and then you need an extra tick. So you really need 6 ticks. So when you buy 1 tick above, it has to move 5 ticks in most cases to fill a limit order. So that's a 6 tick move is what it takes to really scalp out, unless you get lucky and your limit order gets filled. And most of the time it probably won't, unless prices are going to go higher anyway. And generally I notice whenever I get filled on a limit order without it ticking through that order, it's just a few minutes before prices do. So I was just a little early in the queue is all that usually means. And just a few minutes later, it pushes on through. So if prices don't push through, generally you're not going to get out. So this got exactly the 6 ticks we needed, and it turns down sharply, and would have stopped you out by a tick, or actually it keeps going lower. But I like to go along there. And you would think we'd probably go to the other side of the range, but we don't. It ends up trapping people, and you make that a second leg down. You got 1 leg and then a second leg. I don't think they're measured moves, but you can see not quite. If you look at just the closes, it gets you closer. A lot of times you'll get a big stem, and if you kind of ignore that stem and use the closes, it'll get you closer to the actual measured move. But I'll generally use it all just so I can get an idea of where we're probably going if it does get a full measured move. There's clearly 2 legs down there, and then we reverse again. Unfortunately, you don't really get a chance to go long on this one. You could look at that as a failure, but you're right back up to the highs up here where we found some resistance across here, and you can see it took a while, but we pushed on up to the measured move again and then turned back down. So there's just no longs in here, and we don't really get a setup to go short, and then you're back in the range. This one is tempting again, but I think I'd wait on a higher low here because you're still in this channel and there's been no close outside of it yet. You do get the higher low right here, but it's very congestive. You're not getting rejection off those lows and going higher yet, really. And so that signal bar, this one has a matching low, but if you go 1 tick above it, you don't have much room to the EMA, and again, this doesn't look like rejection. You can see it came back again, and we're really into 2 o'clock, almost into, or 3 o'clock, I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying 2, but they've changed the way the market doesn't close at 3 anymore, and reopen at 3:15 and go to 4:30. We trade straight to 4 o'clock now. So now I'd get out about 3 o'clock. So we've extended that time by an hour in the afternoon. So I think it's safe to trade to about 3 o'clock now. But anyway, no trades there, and there just wasn't much happening today. Just not. I mean, really, by 11 o'clock, I don't see anything there that I would really take. This is a possibility. This is one you might trade green because if you assume prices may go all the way back to the high, there's some room there, and it is a failed second entry short. But the fact that that created that little inside bar right there and didn't break higher, that's concerning. And it does come back again before it goes higher. It's just a weak move back. It's just a range, and this is just some movement up and down within the range. So just not much happening. Real quick, easy day today, really, if you back out and see it again. Um, yeah, after the last couple of days, this feels like jail time. If any of you knew what jail time feels like, fortunately, I should say I've never had to do jail time, but I've heard it's pretty bad. So I imagine this feels like jail time. So maybe that's not a good description, but that's what popped in my brain for some reason. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back. We'll do it again tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next